Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so much there. And I think bringing in the social communication bridge, I mean, too many people focus on selective mutism being about speaking and not, when the term selective mutism, as you know, I think is a lousy term for a social communication anxiety,
Uh-huh.
where we need to figure out why. I mean, we have these sensory sensitive kids that get very overwhelmed, and very timid children. That's the dictionary case. But then we've
Yeah.
got the kids with learning processing difficulties and speech and language difficulties, or bilingualism, where the second language, and having maybe a timid temperament on top of it.
Mm.
We have kids that are neurodiverse. We have more and more kids with ADHD that I can't even tell you, so that being able
Mhm.
to keep up with conversations, and they get lost in that. Or autism, where their social puzzle is very difficult. Can you have autism and SM? 100,000%. And so we see this, and you need to tease this apart, because if you don't understand these factors into the development and maintenance of SM, and
Mm.
you're trying to focus on talking, it's absolutely making these kids often more anxious and more avoidant. And that is the secret to figuring it out and doing a proper assessment. Really understanding the factors, really understanding their baseline stages of social communication, whether they're non-communicative and shut down, like at
Mhm.
gymnastics, or the aquarium. In those moments, that's a baseline for them. It's not you need to talk; they can't. How can a parent bring them into social communication, or give them that time to maybe simply give them time, the bear hug, and then begin with more handing, taking, and
Yeah.
frontline behaviors in these environments, preparing in as much as we can. Go during off times. Don't go during 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. Bring a
Yes.
friend so they're distracted with that. Maybe wear headphones for some kids. I mean, there's so many things we can do without focusing on talking, teaching parents how to give them time there's so much. It's loaded, what I'm saying. It's so loaded. And
Yeah,
I
and
think, yeah, go ahead.
I so because I have a degree in American Sign Language, signing with my kids was just part of the household. And doing it from birth is something I did. So for my kids, a secondary communication system was, if it doesn't feel comfortable to say it right now, feel free to sign it to me. And it was kind of like a secret language, right? Nobody around us knew what she was saying. And so there was some safety in it, was almost like whispering, except even quieter, right? There
Mhm.
was just that. And so I do teach people who have highly sensitive kids the signs that they might need in order to communicate. But then we can go even lower than that. Like, it can be an arm tug, it can be a leg hug, it it can be a signal, a gesture that the two of you come up with. And when they're teeny tiny, you're driving that bus.
Yeah,
When
even
your
handing and
body
taking, right, together as a way,
Yeah,
because they can't do it on their own. I wanna unpack the sign language, because
sure.
I wanna talk to you about my views on that, and I wanna hear when you said something like, "There's certain signs." What you're correct me if I'm wrong, because I definitely need you to talk about this.
Yeah.
And I'm also big with, you should never say you need to and you should, but I'm saying it because I don't want our listeners to be confused. Are you saying a few signs? So you're not keeping them nonverbal, right?
Mm.
But you're giving them some thumbs up, some waves, some thumbs down, maybe a confusion with a twist. Talk to us about your version of using sign language.
Okay. So when I was saying specific signs, it's because when I work with parents, I know what the environmental challenge is. And so we pick the ones that match that. But I don't teach people how to raise kids who are fluent in ASL. That's not the point.
Okay, thank you. Well, no, I
The
just because our listeners ask these questions a lot.
Oh, yeah,
And I
absolutely.
want people to understand, because we're going to enable lack of social communication. Remember, selective reading
Mhm.
with kids
Right.
versus using it in a moment or moments where they're overwhelmed, not as comfortable, as a stage on the bridge. Thumbs up is a nonverbal, thumbs down,
Right.
twist. So talk to us a little more. Give us an example. And are we saying the same thing in your mind?
I'm using it as a strategy.
Yeah, no, it's a
Yes.
strategy,
So then,
but I
yeah,
mean, you're
same
not
thing.
mastering the whole ASL, you're
Nope.
basically using it in a moment to cope when you're overwhelmed and you're not able to, let's say, use your words
Absolutely.
or even use a parent as a verbal intermediary yet.
Right. That's absolutely it. And so,
So we're saying the same thing.
we're saying the same thing.
Okay,
I
I want our
have
listeners to understand because I'm gonna get so many questions on, "Wait, I thought you say we're not supposed to learn ASL." No, it's the few signals,
right.
right? Okay.
So, what I focus on with those kids are the signs that really align with their needs, their wants, and their desires. And a lot of choice making opportunity, the ability for parents in that moment. And again, we're not just asking the kids to sign to us, we're engaging, right?
Right,
So when we see the shutdown happen, we can ask, would you like me to this or this? Which one? It is a single solitary sign that is engaging this child. They can't respond. And you say, oh, okay. Well, that is a really challenging decision for you to make. I'm here to help. It could be the red or the yellow. Now, again, notice I've switched from sign to gesture. Now, this hand is a representation. It's not the sign for red and it's not the sign for yellow because the point isn't to teach them that. We're using this as a bridge to communication. And will it eventually support them in feeling like they can try a spoken word? Maybe. But if not, that's okay too. We're just in that moment navigating the hard to get to the next step.
So much of what we teach families is choices because they can hear the right answer, especially if you put the right answer second. Like if
Yes.
you know they like nuggets, but you're saying, "Do you want a burger or nuggets?" And sometimes we even use humor, bugs or nuggets, because you're giving them the answer. It's a cheat sheet. The more they can prepare through
Yes.
visuals. So if you're going to a restaurant or you're doing a scavenger hunt in a store and they're creating the visuals, the less they need between the choice they hear and the
Yes.
visuals they see, the less they need to think and process. Brings down their anxiety. And when you make it a game and you talk about the game they're going to play, they're focused on the game and the points and they're not as focused on the environment sometimes. So you're switching their attention to
Yeah. And
something that's exciting, fun, point based, and they may be getting like little rewards. So with the younger folks, as you say, we are the parents or the drivers. As children age, it starts to flip.
yes.
And just like you're describing with your Claire Bear is at 23, she's able to come to you and safely say, "Hey, mom, I need your help and guidance, but this is what I did." I mean,
Yeah.
kudos.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to wrap it that conversation we were just having up with the idea that using your hands and them using their hands as a communication tool also adds the kinesthetic to the equation. And that's very grounding for kids when they can touch something, even if it's you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
When that connection happens, the kinesthetic is key, especially when we're talking about littles that are all sensory.
yeah.
We started with talking about that emotional feeling, but the physical touch, that is also really, really key. So with those visual organizers, I love when parents make something, and I usually guide them to do it, where the child can pull something off. Maybe it's attached by Velcro or tape. They can pull it off and then they can place it back. Whatever their visual organizer is about, maybe it's that bedtime routine or it's the when we leave the house routine. But whatever's tactile is actually going to help them feel more confident in taking the next step.
And when I relate it to communication, we do Mr., Mrs. Handover. So, and of course, we're, conscious of what we're doing that with. Like, for example, teacher might say, hand the pen to Rebecca. Rebecca, would you give the scissors to Stacy? And you're involving all the children so that they don't feel isolated out
Mm.
during play dates. the parents are guiding it. You want to add the sugar or the water, and handing it and giving it to each other.
Yeah.
That act of handing and taking is social engagement. And so we're
Yes.
saying very similar things in different ways. But that act, and as we talked about, the parents, especially if you're like checking out at a store or giving a drink for a refill, that act
Mhm.
of handing together may be what's needed, or your insurance card at the doctor. These sorts of things are desensitizing them to their environments rather
Mhm.
than avoiding and shutting down and basically buffering them. Because you brought up COVID in the beginning.
Yeah.
And what happened during COVID is these kids weren't sensitized.
Right.
They weren't able to learn and feel in the world to get ready for it. So then all of a sudden they start coming out and people
Yeah.
are talking to them that had masks. They can't, they get so overwhelmed. We have so many kids challenged with adults that are 6, 7 years old. And if you minus 5,
Yeah.
right? Or now
Uh-huh.
almost 6, actually, you're
Yes.
talking about kids that at 2, when they were first born, but also 2, 3 years old, that
Yeah.
gap of not interacting with humans, really.
And that's where that gap started, and
Yep.
it's widened and widened and widened. And you said something so important that I want to reframe it, because two things are happening with this. One, we as adults are so far on the other side of COVID that we are now looking at the chronological age of a child and holding them accountable for what the
Yes.
world says they should be able
Right.
to do at that age.
Right.
That's the first thing. And that's just not feasible. And then the second thing is that we as adults, parents, teachers, everybody tend to quiz kids for information. Everything's a test. Tell me what color this is, right? Like we're asking them to answer, as opposed to what you said, giving them the answer. We should never feel like we are creating a quiz for our kids because we want to test their knowledge base. We, parents, everybody, caregivers, grandparents, family members, we are the teachers. We are the ones who are putting in the information. So just tell them. And after just telling them exactly what you said, be with them in combination as you do the activity. And those two things are going to bring down their anxiety in the moment and allow them to be successful in the activity and in the learning that goes behind it.
So let's talk about a couple examples before we, end this, because I think it's important, because obviously social emotional growth is important in this process. As you said, there's a discrepancy, which frustrates many parents, but we need to
Yeah.
prepare and add in the communication piece. So we have a
Yeah.
birthday party coming up on Saturday. It's for a little girl in our class. Let's just say her name is Sally. Sally has a birthday party. Mom's all about it. The child's excited. Day comes, child's 3, starts tantruming as they're walking into the party. What could we do? What would you do in that case to help her adjust to that party? Now, it's a class party, right?
Mm.
And let's say this party is at a gymnastics place. It's
Oof.
not in the parent's home, so the child's never been there, and I'm getting anxious thinking about it, right? And you don't know who's
Yes.
going. She doesn't know the child so well. She's 3 years old. How do you manage this? Let's talk about it for these parents, because they're getting hit with this all the time. And
Yeah.
holiday parties, we're at holiday time right now.
We are. Yeah, we're entering that. So for me, it begins in the car. Because we know this child well enough to know the possibility of the at the door meltdown is coming,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it begins in the car with short sentences. It's very important that when we are preparing kids for things, we don't do run-ons, right? We're
Oh,
not
yeah, the
like,
dissertation, I call it.
yeah, we're not well, we're going to go here. We lost them already, and you've
Right,
added to their overwhelm because now they're trying to process everything you just said.
right.
We're going to Zoe's party. There will be a lot of people there. This is a new place. I've never been there. You've never been there. Just start by actually telling them what's happening, narrating the experience. Then you're going to want to give them an if-then permission statement. If you feel overwhelmed, then I need you to hug my leg. If you feel overwhelmed, you can show me by hugging my leg. Get out of the car. You've arrived. We're here. Don't start towards the door yet. We're here. I wonder who else is here from your class. Remember, if you feel overwhelmed, hug my leg. Here, let's practice. Do it. Do the act before you get to the door. They melt down anyway. Okay, you've prepared for this, right? Maybe out of the doorway is a good place to be, right? And love on them. Put their little arms around your leg if they're not doing it already. And just have and do that deep pressure right there and say, you're hugging my leg. You're hugging my leg. I know how overwhelmed you are. I can see how overwhelmed you are. Your body doesn't feel safe right now. You've got to just feed them that love and allow it to move through them, because tantrums are energy. Energy is emotion, and emotions move through our body. And so trying to stop the tantrum before it's completely through isn't going to work. If that's uncomfortable for you inside the building, please feel free to do it outside the building. But the only way that your child might be successful in navigating the rest of that party is if you can help them move through it now.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love all those ideas.